Hi and welcome to JJ's Productions. We've got our first Carabao Cup preview match. It's going to be about Stoke City versus Huddersfield. As always, it's Jan with me. Hi again.
Hiya.
So we've just come off the back of our first win of the season against Hull, and I think it's safe to say we're both pleased.
Yeah, very pleased. I didn't expect it, but in my heart I wanted it.
Well, I was quite critical on Twitter when the team sheet was announced. It was like I said in the last episode, to be honest. I think Rowett could have picked any selection of any 11 players, and I don't think he'd have satisfied every fan who was seeing the team sheet.
No, it wouldn't.
But I have to take the words back that he managed to find a starting 11 that played well. I mean, we say this each time it's relevant, just because we don't want to lie to viewers, but we haven't been able to see the match just for the fact that we weren't able to attend in person.
Mother's poorly.
Yeah, that's the reason. So, just want to put it out there, there is a valid reason. But as far as the actual result goes, we are happy with it. By all accounts, certain players impressed. We've heard rave reviews for Martina on his debut. McLean put in his best performance so far.
Yeah.
And by all accounts, Martin Zindi stabilised the defence, which I'm impressed with because I wasn't certain his inclusion would have that effect.
Wasn't. No.
So, and the other thing we can't ignore, Sergio Berahino apparently he's become undroppable after the last couple of games, according to some people. So I'm really looking forward to the Huddersfield game now, just to see where we are as far as if we can get our form back as what we were as a Premier League team, or if we are just getting a little bit carried away after a game against Hull City.
I think he's found his mojo a little bit now, to be honest. And he's stabilising, isn't he, with playing?
Yeah, I think that was one of the things he was saying, that he didn't feel he was getting a run and that he needed games to build some momentum up. And he got that originally under Hughes, but he didn't seem to be backed by him. So I think when the goals didn't come, Hughes dropped him. But I think he's actually found some confidence, even if he isn't actually finding the end product to back it up.
He will do. I've got every confidence in him that he will start scoring goals.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's a personal preference, but I would like to see a Phobie come back in for this game this week. I do think they could be two mobile strikers. And if they can somehow form a good partnership, then we will get goals in this league. So it is what I'm hoping for, but we'll have to wait and see if Crouch is going to keep his place against Huddersfield.
Yeah, I agree with Crouch being on, but I don't agree with him actually being on the first 45 minutes.
He's a better impact player, I think that's plain to see for most people.
Yeah, I like seeing him the latter half of the second half.
I mean, whether it's a case that you need a goal or you're defending a lead, he's usually a good option to bring on because he'll either come back for the set pieces to defend them, or he'll just be a good target man if you need a second option in the game.
Yeah, I'm all for that.
Yeah.
Like I keep saying, he can't do 90 minutes, and I just think it's better second half.
Well, if anything, it's just a case of utilising him well. Yeah. I think that is something that, from Tony Pulis when he first bought him, to Mark Hughes, even Paul Lambert, I don't think any Stoke City manager has actually worked out how to best use Crouch, and maybe Rowett could be the one, because I think for the first time in his time at the club, he's actually got a strike partner. When I think of prime Peter Crouch, he'd always got a Jermaine Defoe running around him. And you never know, having someone like Sergio Berahino, Mom Jufi was on the wing, but he was, I'm guessing, cutting inside. You would like to think that having options around him is what Crouch wants.
Yeah.
But anyway, we are going to move on because in the last episode we hardly covered Hull, and we did apologise at the time. But we're going to talk a bit about Huddersfield this week, aren't we?
We are. Now, they haven't made a good start to the season with a 0-3, a 6-1 and a 0-0. Okay, that was against Chelsea, City and Cardiff. But in my opinion, they should have done better against Cardiff yesterday. I can see them just struggling a little bit, but I think they might just escape relegation and miss it by maybe 2 positions.
It's a case of who are the worst teams. And
Yeah.
at the moment, it's a little too early to tell because, as you say, it's 3 games.
Yeah.
I think if anyone had said after 3 games Stoke City will get relegated last season, it would have been a bit of a surprise. So I think to say that about Huddersfield now would be too early.
Yeah. I mean, they're in 18th at the moment. You know, I mean, it means nothing this time of the season. It's only just started, I know.
Oh, we saw ourselves in, was it 15th yesterday? And we were like, ooh, I thought we'd be higher, so...
Oh, I'd rather not mention that. I was having a bad day yesterday.
Yeah, I'll admit, I think we've spent 20 minutes laughing about that. Just the idea of where Stoke would be. It was like, how many teams can we jump? Yeah, I think there were quite a few teams we could have jumped, but I think we'd have had to have the most miraculous results day going. But yeah, that's just an inside joke, I'm afraid. But yeah, Huddersfield could be interesting. Yeah, I think they've got some interesting players. I always seem to use interesting as euphemism for bad or poor, but I do actually believe there are 1 or 2 who could be coveted by better teams in the Premier League if they went down. I mean, Aaron Mui, I always consider him a very all-rounded midfielder. He can do the dirty work, but he is also pretty creative. Put it like this, when I see him in the Australia team, I think him and Mile Jedinak, I think they're part of the heartbeat of that team. But, you know, they've had additions this summer. You know, I'm just looking, they've obviously taken Ramadan Sobhi from Stoke. We'll talk about him a bit more later on. But, you know, they've got a World Cup winner in Eric Durm. He hasn't played a game yet for him, but I'm sure he's going to get his chance. Last year they got Alex Pritchard from Norwich. He was highly rated when at Tottenham, so maybe he's still got a chance to shine. There's just a very interesting undercurrent of players who maybe could make a step up this year and perform better than last year.
Well, I know the last time we played them was the 20th of January. It was Lambert's first and only home win. I hope we do the same on Tuesday and get a win. I'd rather make sure that we play to go up to the Premiership, you know.
You wouldn't focus on the Cup this year?
No, I wouldn't focus on the Cup. I'm sorry. To me, that's... Okay, it's silverware if you win it, but I would rather go up in the Premiership again.
Alright, so this is a separate question. Would you play the same team that played on Saturday?
Yes, I would.
Now, I am glad we agree there on that, because I do think if we make too many changes... First of all, go on.
Sorry. Yeah. Mr. Diouf. No, I wouldn't play him.
Okay, so who would you play instead? Because I'm looking at the right wing options, and really the only other viable option if you're looking at experienced players is Maritz Bauer. Other than that, we'd have to go to the youth team.
Well, I'm going for a protest that I want Bauer to start playing again. I don't know why he's lost his place.
I mean, I find that incredibly harsh. I don't think... I mean, again, we haven't seen it, but Diouf, by all accounts, didn't have a bad game. He actually created a goal. I'm going to say created because personally, I believe he was the goal scorer.
No, he wasn't. No.
We know that Tika said own goal, but
it was no goal.
For me, Diouf did get it. He took a shot. It was just a case that it happened to come off a defender.
Now listen here, Stokies. Can you put an end to our argument, please? I'd like a comment about that. Am I right or is JT right?
Even better, if you look up the top right hand corner of the screen right now, I'm going to put a poll. It's going to be, is it Diouf's goal or is it an own goal? Just click up the top right corner on the I button and tell us what you think.
And as I say, we last played them then, and I can't see that anything has altered with Huddersfield. To me, they're a mediocre team. Do you know what I mean? It's like Hull. To me, they're a mediocre team that can either do good or they can do bad.
Okay, let's just put that clear. We mean in respective divisions. Because,
yeah. I'm not being nasty against them. It's just something I feel. It's my opinion. And if there's any Hull supporters there, comment and I will comment back to you.
I actually felt a bit sorry for Hull before the game yesterday because the team sheet came out and we did get a copy of the whole team sheet, and I did see a lot of Stoke supporters reacting with a "who's that? Who's who?" And I'll admit there aren't a lot of Hull players who are well known in the league, but there are a couple who maybe should have been a better well known. I mean, Jared Bowen's a good young player. If Stoke had gone in for him in the summer window, I wouldn't have been complaining. So the way I look at it is, maybe that's just an instance of a few Stoke fans needing to just look up the opposition. In fairness, that's what we've done, and maybe that's why I'm a little bit biased there. But I think to myself, maybe we should have just given them a little bit more respect as a fan base.
Yeah. I mean, take the notice of me. I'm a woman.
Bloody hell.
But what I'm saying, I've got to say how I feel about these teams, or else I might not as well be here. And
yeah, I mean, if that's your opinion that they're a little bit wishy-washy, fair enough. It's just a case of I'm not saying Hull were fantastic by any stretch. I think even the Hull fans themselves would say they had an opportunity to take on a team lacking in confidence and got nowhere near taking a chance. But on the other hand, I'm just thinking to myself, I think the players are maybe better than we thought beforehand, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, this was all starting with Huddersfield anyway, in a comparison between the two.
Yes. Sorry about that.
But yeah, I mean, I think what we've got to come back to, which is something I mentioned, is we've got Ramadan Sobhi coming back to the Bet365 Stadium. We took Tom Ince off Huddersfield in the summer, although he won't be able to play in this game down to injury. I think what a lot of Stoke fans will be curious about is, can Sobhi actually do well at a club? Well, I mean, will David Wagner, the Huddersfield coach, actually be able to get a tune out of him, which both Mark Hughes and Paul Lambert failed to do?
I honestly don't know, because I didn't dislike him as a player. I just don't think they played him right.
My personal opinion is he hadn't got any end product.
No.
I mean, I feel like him and Ince are actually polar opposites in some ways. That Ince has got, in the Championship at least, he's got strikes, he'll take strikes at goal, should I say. He can play 1-2s quite neatly. He sort of has a picture in his head of what he wants to do, even if he doesn't actually finish it all the time. Whereas with Sobhi, I get the feeling that he's got an idea, but no one else is ever on his wavelength. So he'll pass a ball and it'll just be completely mispassed, or he'll take a shot that wasn't in the right position. I think it's all about mental maturity, and he's just not there yet.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't actually like Tom Ince before he come. Another one I don't like, I'm sorry. But I'm getting to like him. The only thing that I'm a bit judgmental over is, when he's got the ball, okay, he can see the goal, and yes, we do want that. But he is a bit selfish. He could pass the ball, and maybe somebody could score by that. Whereas he's always got to have the shot, or 90% of the time.
I do agree with you there, in that we did see the Wigan game, and there were chances in them first 25 minutes where he took a shot, but there was a better opportunity to play a pass, which could then play in a player for a goal.
Yeah.
I can understand if you're a player who's got a good strike, that you think, oh, I'm in range, I'll take a chance. But sometimes I think you also need to lift your head up and think, hang on, I might be able to take a shot here, but have I got a better chance of scoring from that shot than I have of slipping a player in and actually creating a chance?
I mean, when he's got the ball, he doesn't seem to look up for other players. Whether he does this, without lifting his head and just does a sideways glance, I don't know. But all he's got to focus on is the goal. I don't think he can see players around him. And as I say, it's only 90%, 10% of the time he does that.
Yeah, I think this is where we actually came on, well, me and Mum gave criticism to Xherdan Shaqiri in the last couple of years. And I feel like ourselves, we're the only two people in Stoke-on-Trent who don't particularly like him after he left the club.
No.
And it's more down to the off-field stuff with Shaqiri. I'm going to put that down on paper now. But if there was one thing I didn't like on the pitch, it was that sometimes he was always trying to go cut in from the wing and take shots when maybe there were better chances. Now that is just a harsh criticism. I'm going to admit it, because it's an harsh criticism like Tom Ince that we're talking here. Because you would rather someone take a chance and score it than maybe not take the chance and there's no chance created at all. But on the other hand, there's a case of just play a little bit more for the team rather than just going for individual glory. It's certain instances that strike to mind.
I actually think that Shaq is worse than Ince. Shaq did it a lot because he didn't think any of our players were capable of having the ball.
I mean, the criticism that we've got is it all comes back to that Ronaldinho comment that he made, and whether you believe he had some truth to say that the 10 Ronaldinhos won to save this team, it still smacked of a real snobbiness towards the club, as if to say, well, I can't help it. It gave off the image that at that point, it was just before that Arsenal game, that he'd sort of resigned himself to relegation, that he was, even if he was going to go try and do his best, he'd sort of already started looking elsewhere. And I didn't like that idea of a lack of commitment. Now, all I seem to hear is praise for him, and I feel like a lone voice in this respect because it's not popular to criticise this player.
Like I've said before, this is my team for 52 years. And I can honestly say, without, overthinking, that he is the only player that's ever come out with a comment like that. You're playing for Stoke City, and you don't diss them off and all this and say things about him. Why are you still playing for the club?
I mean, this is where I can understand the criticism for Charlie Adam, the fact that he's... I can understand that. I can forgive him making a comment after we got relegated about the fact that we underperformed and so on. But the comments since then, when he's pretty much been laying into Shaqiri and Lambert and making out that it was all their fault and none of his own, or at least not taking enough blame for his own errors, then I think that's where Stoke fans do get annoyed, because it's alright you're making a criticism, but you've also got to back it up with what you had on the pitch. Yeah. So I do see why some people are laying into Adam more than Shaqiri.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I'm thinking to myself, whilst Adam's comments were poor, at least he waited until the end of the season to make those comments. Whereas Shaqiri, it essentially felt like he threw in the towel with about 2 to 3 months of the season to go. And you're looking at him and thinking, you could have waited. If you'd have said that afterwards, I don't think anyone would have disagreed, and I don't think anyone does. But it just felt like very poorly timed, especially when you're trying to get every ounce of motivation to carry on the fight.
Well, as you know, I'm very passionate about Stoke, and I always will be. And comments like that he made hurt me. And I'd never forgive him. In fact, if I saw him, I'd like kick his head in. I just do not like how he made these comments. He's not a nice man, and even when he does something good and he does that folded arm business, I could slap him. He's arrogant. I'm ever so sorry, folks, but I'm so damn passionate about my team that somebody like him could have really ruined it.
I think what you're looking at is a personal character, and the way I look at a Shaqiri type of player, it reminds me of an Arnautovic, the idea of a talisman who's maybe got a bit of cockiness about him. And I was watching this morning it's a video interview with Paul Lambert, I will have to share it with you. And in the course of an interview with Richard Keys and Andy Gray, Shaqiri was compared with Eric Cantona, not necessarily for quality, but for the idea of the cockiness that you can bring. And I do understand where they were coming from, that some of these players will have arrogance and you can't take it away from them. But on the other hand, I think there's a case of when things aren't going well, you don't really need... You have to sort of temper it a little bit. And I don't think Shaqiri with his comments helped himself, because it did, in our eyes at least, it did make him come across as being very selfish rather than selfless, despite what the majority seem to say about him. And again, maybe we're just sole opinions on this, but we are sharing what we believe on it.
My last opinion on Shaq is, I hope he doesn't get in the team at Liverpool. I hope he's on the bench forever.
Well, it's starting like that. We'll soon see. But this whole tangent did start with Tom Ince versus Ramadan Sobhi.
Sorry.
Yeah, once we get started on something like this, it's very hard to stop us. But the idea is, I'm not exactly like you upset that Ramadan left the club. I think...
Oh no, I'm not upset, dear. It's...
There was potential there, but I'm not exactly sure if we're ever going to see the potential unleashed for any team. I mean, if David Wagner does it, I will be interested to see how he managed to get that consistency out of him. But it could just come with age as well. It's very hard to work out. But if he does, there is some ability there. I think the one thing he will lack forever is pace. He didn't impress me in these last season for his pace.
Especially for a young lad.
I did think he'd be a little bit quicker. I don't know if he gained muscle while he was with us and it did take away some of his speed. But if that's the case, it didn't help his play, because I think from a personal point of view, and I'm sure a lot of Stoke supporters, we value pace over strength sometimes in the wide areas. And we've just had so little pace in the last few seasons.
Can I just say though, another sport, Andy Murray, tennis. He come on into the tennis world as this little thin thing, and then from out of nowhere he built these muscles, and I thought, right, let's see what you can do. He can run as fast as anything, because he was taught how to do it.
I mean, it's a fair point that. I mean, I don't know if there's any translation into football, but like I say, I'm going to be very interested to see if David Wagner can bring that out of him. Yeah. And hopefully not on Tuesday, but just over the course of a season. I am curious to see how it develops.
Right, quickly, can we have a prediction?
A prediction. Well, I'm going along the lines that I believe that Huddersfield will make changes, just for the fact that Premier League teams do tend to make a number of changes for a Carabao Cup tie. So what my belief is, if we keep our starting 11, or at least the majority of it, I believe we could get the win just because of those changes. So I will go 2-1.
In that case, I'll go 3-1 to Stoke.
That 2-1 I've just said, I wouldn't rule it out being in after extra time, or but yeah. I think if we can just get another win on the board against Premier League opposition, it could just build some momentum going into the West Brom game.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a tough game for us.
Yeah, I mean, I'll admit the preview for that will be interesting, so look out for that on Friday. But that's about it for this week. I hope if you've heard our opinions on certain issues here and you disagree with them, I hope you could leave a comment regarding them, because if you do disagree with what we think about Shaqiri, for instance, we would like to know why you disagree with it. We are open to discussion. We aren't just going to completely say nothing to you. So I would like to know your thoughts if you do disagree on that.
And I do apologise if I have upset anybody. It isn't intentional. It's just my feelings.
But that is a wrap for this week, or for this episode at least. So from both of us, all I can say is bye for now.
Cheerio, folks. See you next time.